Hey guys, it's Paul here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So this is the iPhone 12 Pro Max. This is the best iPhone you can get right now from Apple. Well, until the iPhone 13, which is going to be out this time next year. It might seem like a long time, but 2020 went by so fast, so 2021 is by the corner, so start saving up your money. Anyways, as you guys might know, Apple always release a new iPhone every year, and when they release a new iPhone, it's always like a minimal upgrade from the last generation. I kind of wish it's like a situation where there's a new iPhone and everyone is like, oh, the new iPhone can do this, oh, the new iPhone can do that, but it's always like, yeah, the new iPhone can do this and do that, meh. Then you have to ask yourself the question, should I upgrade to the new iPhone? Well, I don't really want to make this video about the iPhone 11 Pro Max versus the iPhone 12 Pro Max because that's going to be a separate video. In fact, I'm going to be releasing that video right after this video. So you might want to consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. And if you're excited about the iPhone 12 Pro Max, you might also want to consider dropping a like button on this channel. I really appreciate that. So I've been using the iPhone 12 Pro Max for a couple of days now, and these are the things I noticed about my iPhone 12 Pro Max. Let's start with the design. The design of the iPhone 12 Pro Max is actually one of the best on any smartphone. Well, it's still not the best. It's still second to the Note 20 Ultra. I love the design of the Note 20 Ultra, but the design of the iPhone 12 Pro Max is similar to that of the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 5. It's a boxy design, and for those of you guys that are not familiar with the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 5, basically the iPhone 12 Pro Max is almost like a box, but the only thing is that the sides are not like very sharp, like a perfect rectangle. The edges are kind of curved to the side, which is actually a very good design. It actually feels good in hands. The back of the iPhone 12 Pro Max is made out of this matte finish, which doesn't attract a lot of fingerprints, and the sides are made out of stainless steel. That actually attracts a couple of more fingerprint than the matte finish at the back, but that's not really a problem since most people are going to be using a phone case on their smartphone anyways. The power button is at the right side of the phone, and below the power button you're going to find the 5G antenna. On the left side of the phone you're going to find the mute switch and the volume rocker. Below the phone you're going to find two speaker output and the lightning port. And at the back of the phone is a triple lens camera system, a LiDAR sensor, and the flash. We're going to get to the camera system in a bit. It also has a 6.7-inch display, and speaking of display, the display on the iPhone 12 Pro Max is a 6.7-inch Quad HD AMOLED display, although Apple likes to call theirs Retina liquid Retina display. Basically, Apple likes to own their own display, although Apple doesn't really make the display hardware on their smartphone, but the display is actually fully optimized for the iPhone. Samsung makes majority of the display on most iPhones, so obviously if Samsung is selling displays to Apple, they're not going to give them the best display they have, and that's why Samsung phone has the best display. Actually, that's actually very true. So the display on the iPhone 12 Pro Max is actually very good, although it's not the best, but it's still very good. The color science is great, the dynamic range is great, the contrast is great. Although I kind of wish it has a 120Hz refresh rate, it's still a 60Hz refresh rate. I'm kind of disappointed in the fact. I wish it has 120Hz refresh rate. Before the iPhone 12 series was released, we've been hearing a lot of rumors like, oh, there's going to be 120Hz. No, there's not going to be 120Hz. There's not going to be 120Hz. But at the end of the day, Apple decided to settle for 60Hz. I'm kind of disappointed, but it is what it is. The screen resolution on the iPhone 12 Pro Max comes in at a 2778 by 1284 and a pixel density of 458, which is actually not bad. In fact, that's an upgrade from the iPhone 11 due to a bigger display, a 6.5 display on the iPhone 11 Pro Max and a 6.7-inch display on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Anyways, let's talk about the processing power on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. All four variants of the iPhone 12 Pro Max is powered by the new A14 Bionic chip, which is the world's first 5nm chip. Every year when Apple releases a new chip, it's always the best in the market. The A10, the A11, the A12, the A13, and now the A14 Bionic chip. The A13 Bionic chip was the best last year. The A12 was the best 2 years ago. When Apple releases their own chip, it's always the best in the market. It's always knock out the Android counterpart, the Snapdragon or the Exynos or whatever. I mean, the difference is not like crazy, but the fact is that Apple chips are actually very, very powerful. In fact, if you compare the latest chip on any Android to like the old Apple chips, like the A10 Bionic chip, the A11 Bionic chip, or the A12 Bionic chip, those chips can still perform very well in 2020, even though they were produced like 3-4 years ago. That's how good Apple chips are. So I decided to test the A14 Bionic chip on the Geekbench, although this Geekbench number doesn't really mean much in the real life, but I still did a Geekbench on it. And according to what I saw on Geekbench, let me pull out Geekbench on my phone. Now, the single core performance on the iPhone 12 Pro Max is 1593 compared to the iPhone 11 Pro Max from last year, that's 1327. That's almost like a 300 difference. Now let's move on to multi-core. Multi-core on the iPhone 12 Pro Max is 4163. Although this, like I said, these numbers doesn't really mean much like that, but they still mean something to some extent. Now let's compare that to the iPhone 11 Pro Max from last year, which is 3303 to 4645. That's actually a very big improvement, and might be due to the fact that the A14 Bionic chip is a 5nm chip compared to the 7nm chip on the A13 Bionic chip or the old or previous Bionic chips. Anyways, the processing power on the iPhone 12 Pro Max is nothing to worry about. The A14 Bionic chip on the iPhone 12 Pro Max is gonna last you 6, probably even 7 years, and thanks to the software update. And speaking of software, the iPhone 12 Pro Max down to the original iPhone SE is running on iOS 14, which is actually cool. A lot of optimization, which is going to make the chip even run faster. The battery is going to last very long. And speaking of battery also, well, the battery on the iPhone 12 Pro Max is not really a significant upgrade from the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Basically, it's still the same thing. Even if you check their website, you're gonna see 20 hours of video playback time on the iPhone 11 Pro Max and 20 hours of video playback time on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. So there's not like a battery upgrade from the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So that's not really a reason to upgrade from the iPhone 11 Pro Max, because the battery is pretty much the same thing. Now let me go back to the processing power on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Speaking of the iPhone 12 Pro Max being fast, all 4 variants of the iPhone 12 Pro Max now have support for 5G. Although I haven't experienced 5G, like the best 5G on my own smartphone, but I had the chance to go to the Apple store, and one of the employees there or the workers there showed me how fast 5G. Guys, 5G is really times 10 raised to power infinity times 10 plus 1 fast. I saw 749 megapixels per second. When I tested it on my iPhone 11 Pro Max, I only got like maybe 50 megapixels per second. That's a very big difference. The craziest thing is that Apple wasn't the first company to include 5G on their smartphones. Before the iPhone 12 series, there was 5G on the S20 Ultra, the Note 20 Ultra, even the S10 had 5G, but there wasn't 5G all around. But now that Apple has included 5G on their smartphone, you're gonna be seeing a lot of 5G, more 5G coverage all around. Now that Apple has joined the 5G party, I kind of wonder. It's kind of biased. I think people still see iPhones to be like the flagship within flagship. So people, when they hear Android, the first thing that comes to their mind is inferior. Android inferior, and that's not actually very true. But I don't want to start an argument of if Android is better than Apple or if Apple is better than Android, but it is what it is. Anyways, let's talk about the most important part of a smartphone. Guess what it is? The microphone, the display, the camera. Well, the camera on the iPhone 12 Pro Max is still a 12 megapixel lens. It has a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens with an aperture of f2.4, a wide angle lens with an aperture of f1.6, and a telephoto lens with an aperture of f2.2. Now, before I show you some sample pictures or some sample videos or sample whatever you can take with an iPhone, let's talk about what's new on the camera on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Now, during the event, Apple announced this new feature on all 4 variants on the iPhone 12, but I'm going to talk about the one that is specifically like related to the iPhone 12 Pro Max. The iPhone 12 Pro and the iPhone 12 Pro Max can shoot 4K Adobe 10-bit color at 60 frames per second. Yes, you heard me right. 16 frames per second. But the sad thing is that if you take this video, this 4K Adobe 10-bit color on your iPhone 11 Pro Max, and you upload it to like Instagram or YouTube or whatever, after the compression, your video is going to be back to basic because it's not really going to show that 10-bit amazing color and stuff like that. And for those of you guys that don't really know what 8-bit color or 10-bit color actually means, well, let me search Google right now. Because I don't really want to say it from the head, because I'm not going to pretend like I'm a camera expert or something like that. I'm still learning like you guys. So let me pull up Google and search 8-bit color and 10-bit color. I think I searched it like, okay, 8-bit color. So according to Google, 8-bit firework with RGB uses 256 levels per channel, while 10-bit color uses 1024 levels per channel. So basically there are more color data in 10-bit color space than in 8-bit color space. You get more color information than in 8-bit color space. So the fact that the iPhone 12 Pro and the iPhone 12 Pro Max has 10-bit color space, it means you get sharper colors, colors that has more contrast. You get more color information on your iPhone 12 Pro and your iPhone 12 Pro Max. The lenses on the iPhone 12 Pro Max is slightly bigger than that of the iPhone 11 series, which means I'm expecting a better performance when it comes to nighttime photos. And there's also a LiDAR sensor on the iPhone 12 Pro Max and also the iPhone 12 Pro. This LiDAR sensor is basically useful for AR features and is also good for portrait mode during nighttime. Basically, the LiDAR sensor enables the camera to know what the scene looks like, especially during the nighttime. Anyways, let's take a look at some sample photos and sample videos taken with the iPhone 12 Pro Max. As you have seen in the pictures, there's nothing really to complain about the pictures taken with the iPhone 12 Pro Max. In fact, the cameras on the iPhone 12 Pro Max or the cameras on iPhones are actually so good that they are beginning to replace real professional cameras. So before the iPhone 12 series, the only difference that used to be between the Pro and the Pro Max is just the size difference. But this year is something different. The iPhone 12 Pro Max has a feature that is unique just to the iPhone 12 Pro Max, if that makes any sense. Yeah. Well, basically the iPhone 12 Pro Max has a new image stabilization mechanism that you can't find on any other iPhone. Basically, the sensor shifts to produce the best possible stabilized image. Although the other three iPhone 12 has great image stabilization, but the image stabilization on the iPhone 12 Pro Max just takes it to the next level. Now let's take a look at some sample videos taken with the iPhone 12 Pro Max. As you have seen in the video, the image stabilization is great. I didn't use any gimbal or any special equipment like that, just my tripod, and I was even on my bicycle, so the road was bumpy. But even with the fact that the road was bumpy, the iPhone 12 Pro Max does an amazing job in keeping the video stabilized. I'm really impressed with the stabilization on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Now let's move on to nighttime photography. Well, the iPhone 12 Pro Max If it doesn't take the best nighttime photograph, it's probably going to be the second next to Pixels, because Pixel phones are just beast when it comes to nighttime photography. But I have nothing to complain about the nighttime photos taken with the iPhone 12 Pro Max. It's just crazy. There are some things that you can't even see with your naked eyes, but your phone can actually see. But the nighttime photo on the iPhone 12 Pro Max works best if you're using a tripod or something like that. But if you're using your hand, the shakiness of your hand is going to produce a less quality nighttime photos. The best image you can produce from the iPhone 12 Pro Max is when the iPhone 12 Pro Max is on a tripod. So I would advise you, if you want to take nighttime photos, to use a tripod for your nighttime pictures.
We've gone so far, it hurts to realize we're parted. Yeah, look at us now, this is who we are. And I just know things will never be the same. We're like strangers again. Strangers again. We're like strangers again. I just know things will never.
So I have nothing to complain about the camera system on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Like, really nothing. So some of you guys might be asking, why did I upgrade to the iPhone 12 Pro Max? Well, I have two reasons for upgrading to the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Well, one, I have a YouTube channel. I have to make content. Obviously, I'm still a new YouTuber, so I have to be consistent. So that's one of the reasons I actually got the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And the other reason is that the bigger display. Although it doesn't have 120Hz display, I'm still disappointed at Apple, but I love a big display. I think that the maximum display I am comfortable with on a smartphone is 7 inches. Why does that number sound familiar? Anyways, my point is that I love a big display on a smartphone. I love the 6.7-inch display on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. That's just my preference. I love a big display. It's an OLED display. It's sharp. It's vibrant. And that's basically the reason why I upgraded to the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Everything else is pretty much the same thing for me. Like, now there's not really like a life-changing difference from the iPhone 11 Pro Max to this. And also, I'm just someone who likes tech. I really love tech. Even though it's a very tiny upgrade, I would love to talk about it, experience it in hand and stuff like that. I'm just a tech nerd. I mean, I don't like to call myself a nerd. I like to call myself a tech addict. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, drop me a like button. Subscribe to my YouTube channel because I make a lot of videos like this. I make tech comparison, tech unboxing, anything tech on this channel. So if that sounds like something interesting, you might want to consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Turn on that notification bell or smash it if that's what you're into. And I'll see you guys in my next video. I don't want to say it. Should I say it? Peace.